because we are going to talk about a topic that becomes more and more important every day, even in the out of home, the sustainable packaging. This is the agenda that we are going to follow. We are going to talk about why packaging is indispensable today. What does it mean to embrace a circular economy? I'm sure you have listened a lot about this term. What does it mean a material world? What is the different kind of packaging materials you can find in your business today? What are simple tips that you can take action, simple actions that you can take to go in the right direction in terms of sustainable packaging? And then we go to the question and answers and the wrap up. Before deep dive, we wanted to show you a preview of the content of this new magazine publication that it's available already for you in our Nestlé Professional website. Let's have a quick look. For this edition, we wanted to create awareness about packaging and the importance of your role in the food industry, in the out-of-home industry, for the present and the future of your business. In today's context, it's absolutely essential to understand the packaging reality in the environment of sustainability and climate action, to be able to speak with authority and to drive actions for a positive contribution. So, as said before, we talk about the role of packaging, changing consumer and customer attitudes, learning more about common types of packaging materials, how to make informed choices, considering sustainability, and discuss how we can play a role all together with customers, with you all, with consumers, with governments, to continue protecting our food and beverage products in out-of-home while eliminating packaging waste. So let's start by thinking about why we need the packaging. Our cans, our jars, the cartons, and other containers do several important things for us. They protect the food from damage and spills during transportation and storage. They provide a barrier against physical or microbial contamination, tampering, and oxidation that can impact the flavor and the freshness of the products. Those functions are critical for maintaining our foods and beverage quality and safety, to guarantee the targeted shelf life and preventing unnecessary food waste. This is really important. But packaging is also a very important way to share information our customers need about the ingredients, the composition, the nutrition, how to prepare the product, how to store the content, and they can help with practical functions like portioning and point of sale display. So while we know too many packages are being thrown away after a single use, and this is an issue, instead of being reused or recycled, some form of packaging is essential. So now it's a poll time. We want to make you a quick question and then to check what is your understanding about the following topic that Anna is going to cover. So Lynn, if you can put the question in the poll, please. Lynn, I think we are not seeing the question of the poll. Thank you. So who do consumers most think, according to a very recent research, should be responsible for packaging end of life? I see you're already answering between consumers, companies, and governments.
Already we have the half of the answers, so maybe, yeah, let's take until 50 maybe. One more, perfect.
Yeah, so you want to know the answer, so Anna is going to continue with this.
Exactly. Here, the results say that you think that 26% is consumers, 53% is the role of the companies, and then 21% it's governments. Okay, let's see who consumers think should be responsible for that. So we need to do something about minimizing packaging waste, as Anna just mentioned, but who should take the lead? So right now, governments own and regulate post-consumer waste management systems, but a recent survey showed who consumers think should be in charge. So here you can see that the 39% of consumers believed companies have a strong role to play in the end of life of consumer products. Then the 26% said it's a government's role, and the 13% said it's a job for consumers. But the truth actually is that collaboration is needed between governments, consumers, and companies. So all the parties are very relevant to address this topic. If you look around, people everywhere are starting to pay more attention to packaging. In some recent findings among global consumers, we could see that the 53% of 65-year-old consumers would pay more for eco-friendly packaging, and this number increases until the 86% in the youngest consumers among 18 to 24 years old. If we move on, we can see that nearly 9 out of 10 people think a global treaty to stop plastic pollution is important. And if we deep dive into different countries in the world, it's shown that 71% of Americans want to buy products that use as little plastic as possible. 91% of Argentinians think a plastic pollution treaty is important, and 1/3 of those think it's essential. The 84% of Netherlanders think that manufacturers and retailers should take the lead in reducing, reusing, and recycling plastic packaging. And lastly, in Australia, the 77% think that single-use plastics should be banned as soon as possible. Therefore, if we sum up these observations, it appears that our industry should be a huge part of the solution. But at the same time, the public is still learning about this topic. Another recent survey of consumers in 10 different countries shows how sustainable they think various packaging materials are, revealing that there are some gaps between their understanding and the reality. For example, if we move on, we can see that glass and PET are ranked as very sustainable. And indeed, it's true, both materials are recycled at higher rates. If we move on, we have compostable plastics, which are generally considered as extremely sustainable. But the truth is that these can vary depending on the availability of industrial composting systems. And lastly, here we have metal, which is ranked low by consumers, despite both aluminum and steel can be easily recycled into new packing or products. So now that we know a little more about how things are nowadays, let's think about how we wish they could be in the near future. One solution to packaging waste is to adopt a circular economy. For decades, as you may know, the world has operated according to the linear economy model, which is based on the assumption that natural resources are abundant, easy to source, and cheap to discard. And this approach is clearly unsustainable. So the circular model aims to maintain the utility of things we make, keeping materials in the loop instead of continuing to take, make, and waste those materials. So we know that every box, can, and jar that we use in our restaurants, for example, is made from valuable resources. By reusing or recycling these materials and keeping them in the loop, people can extend that value and minimize the pressures that creating and discarding packaging puts on the environment. So now, before moving on to the next slide, there's time for another poll. Lynn, if you can help us with the following question.
Oh, the computer is warm up already.
Okay, so which of these steps you think contribute to keep packaging materials in the loop? First option is refill. Second is reduce. Third is reuse packaging. And the fourth, all of the above. So let's wait for you to answer. Let's give a couple of minutes. Okay, we already have 51 answers.
Yes, so I think we can already reveal the answer.
Yeah.
And we see that you are really listening very attentively, very good listeners, and you are already very much aware because of course, all the above applies, the refill, the reduce, and the reuse. Thank you very much, everyone.
Yeah, so the
And thank you, Lynn.
76%
Yes.
got it right.
Got it
Okay,
super
so
right.
we will move on.
So we move on, and as Anna explained, the circular economy is a term that is really, really becoming super important as a real solution to address the plastic waste worldwide. And evolving our approach is a combined effort, from educating consumers or expanding infrastructure to specifying how the materials should be returned after use. So we need to work together to keep materials in the loop by following these 5 strategies. The first one is first reduce the use of packaging material in general, and virgin material in particular, of course, while maintaining an adequate protection. The second one is reduce and refill. Scale these reusable and refillable systems to eliminate the need of the disposable packaging. The third strategy is redesign the packaging by pioneering alternative materials to facilitate the recycling. The fourth is support the recycling infrastructure that helps shape a waste-free future. And the fifth one is rethink behaviors to drive change for companies, organizations, and consumers. So to make it happen, we'll need everyone to commit to meeting these goals.
So communicate, educate, and advocate are key with regards to packaging materials. And if you are new to recycling, you might be thinking, okay, where do I start now? So first, you could check your local regulations, wherever you are, guidelines and infrastructure to see what kinds of materials you can and cannot recycle locally. Then you could also train your staff accordingly to help minimize waste in your day-to-day operations, for example, on the cleaning and on the serving on your restaurants. And then you could also find partners to help you accomplish your goals. For example, you could search for local groups, industry networks, or NGOs that are focused on sustainability. And you could also ask your suppliers and other food industry workers to share their ideas so it can bring you a lot of inspiration and guidance.
Let's talk about packaging materials and making informed choices then. The packaging used for our food and beverages that you find in your restaurants, in your cafeterias, in your hotels and business can come in many materials and formats, as you know. And most of them can be recycled to some degree, subject to local conditions. So you can find paper and cardboard. You can have laminated cartons or glass or steel, aluminum containers, rigid plastic, flexible plastic, or plastic bottles. Some of these materials are easier to recycle than others. The biggest challenge comes with flexible plastics, usually composed of layers of different materials. Here, the monomaterials, that means one material, that means easier to recycle, is an emerging trend in recyclable packaging. And we are part of this shift in the group, of course. In this material world, it's key to be aware of the popular golden design rules, providing guidance to increase the circularity of packaging and create significant value for the industry. You can have as well much more information in the resource part in the magazine. For example, to avoid the use of PVC or polyester because they can disrupt the recycling of some other plastic, or to reduce the overgrabs and unnecessary packaging, the excessive, for example, headspace in a flexible pouch, because that will help minimizing the demand of virgin plastic and the amount of plastic placed on the market. But the most important advice to choose the most sustainable packaging is to look end to end and do not consider only the material itself, but the format as well and the whole life cycle, the sorting, the collection, and the infrastructure to recycle.
Okay, so as you may be aware, governments around the world are enacting bans, taxes, and laws relating to packaging. But here we show you some ways to be proactive and anticipate these upcoming issues. First, you can connect with the organization that handles your local collection. Second, you can learn about what can be recycled locally. You can also review the collection system at your facilities and set up bins to match this specific system. You can also talk to local business associations about hosting trainings on waste management or circular economy legislations. And you can also encourage suppliers to offer alternatives with reusable packaging or even bulk dispensing.
As a food service provider, you can also take steps to handle packaging in a more sustainable way in every part of your business. Whether you are partnering with your vendors, taking deliveries, preparing food or beverage, serving it, or packing it for delivery, for example, we are going to show you some more sustainable options to consider. Let's take a deeper look at some places where you can make a difference.
If we start at the loading dock and ordering, you can ask vendors to minimize and optimize plastic pallet wrapping, for example. Then you can also opt for local produce, so you can use less protection for it to travel. You can suggest reusable plastic or even wooden pallets or trays to transport and store. You can ask your suppliers about the availability of reuse systems or bulk dispensers. You can offer proactively to return pallets or containers to be refilled or reused. You can try to encourage your suppliers to use minimal packaging. And of course, when possible, try to order in bulk to minimize packaging. But that needs to happen as long as you can use all the produce in time to prevent spoilage and food waste.
And in your kitchen preparation, try to reuse containers that you usually have already in your kitchen. Don't grab items in plastic before placing them in recycling bin. Ensure that there is no food left in empty containers, because as you can imagine, when the containers are dirty, this makes it more difficult to be recycled. And then take plastic bags and films to a local facility that accepts them.
Then in the dining room, you should label collection bins according to the sorting guidelines of local collection systems. You can offer only reusable or paper straws instead of the plastic or single-use ones. You can replace disposables with ceramic mugs, plates, and cutlery that can be washed and reused instead than being thrown away. And you can provide collection bins at convenient points with instructions for customers on how to recycle.
And then if you are in the takeaway and delivery business, remember you can as well do a part here. Encourage your consumers to bring their own reusable cups or containers for takeaways. Offer multiple use cups or containers whenever possible. Include a card or a sticker with delivery to explain how to recycle the containers. Or choose recyclable or recycled content items when multiple use items are not feasible. Use paper instead of plastic bags for carry out, and partner with a third party to reuse or recycle your containers when this is feasible.
Okay, so at this point, you probably have lots of questions. So let's see if we can already answer some of them right now. You will find all the extended answers and other questions on the magazine. Lynn will share the link with you afterwards. So first, are recyclable and recycled the same thing? So the fast and simple answer is no. Recyclable is a characteristic of a product, packaging, or component that can be diverted from the waste stream and can be collected, processed, and returned to use. Whereas recycled material means that something has been reprocessed from recovered material and made into a final product or component that is ready to be incorporated into a new product.
Next question that we used to have is compostable plastic the answer? And to be honest, the answer, it depends, but not a first choice in general in our waste hierarchy priorities. Compostable plastic can be a solution for certain types of packaging which have a high level of food residue that could hamper the recycling. Industrial composting can be an alternative recovery pathway for certain packaging materials which require specific industrially managed conditions to break down. Although this also has potential, and we are observing very closely with our experts, industrial composting infrastructure is not yet widespread globally. So you should check with your local government office first or their waste management partner to confirm if any compostables beyond the food waste are accepted in your area.
Now, a very common question that we hear a lot, are single-use plastics problematic for the out-of-home industry? So the answer is yes, single-use plastic management is a serious issue that requires attention at all levels of public administration. As we mentioned, several governments and organizations are already developing policies and actions to address the environmental impact of single-use plastics. For example, here in the European Union, a single-use plastics directive forbids many countries from using disposable food containers, cutlery, or straws. So please consider in your country that legislations and regulations are constantly changing and they can vary from one country to another. So therefore, it's key for you to check with your local office the best way to stay current on developments that may happen in your country.
Other question that sometimes we receive from customers and from our stakeholders is what is the difference between the EPR fees and the taxes? So in fact, the standard producer responsibility, that is the EPR, these are laws set out a national framework where the producer of a product or packaging is required to handle its end of life. Generally, the producer handles this obligation by paying a management fee based on the weight of packaging materials they place on the market. On the other hand, some countries have chosen to implement plastic taxes instead. Okay, the revenues from these taxes are not always earmarked for improving local waste management infrastructure. So check with your local government to see what fees are being assessed in your supply chain so you can make an informed choice about your packaging purchases.
And finally, you may be wondering if there's a simple answer about what's the best choice you can make when selecting packaging materials with respect to circularity, right? So the best choice is simple, is to check what's locally collected and actually can be recycled. So you can explore reuse systems to lower the volumes of single-use materials. For example, gastronomes or beverage kegs are great examples of reusable systems nowadays in the food service. And remember that packaging should also deliver adequate protection to the product, as Anna mentioned at the beginning. So food losses and waste can cause even more environmental impact than packaging itself. So we need to make sure that we only use what is needed to make its function.
And last but not least, here you have the links to our Nestlé Professional website, where you can find already this full content magazine, much more in detail than what we explained today, the Planet Pro Keep Packaging on the Loop, and as well other previous editions where we collaborated with World Chef as well, and we did previous webinars, not only for Planet Pro, that is our sustainability magazine, but as well NutriPro, the nutrition magazine for out of home. And then you will find as well not only the magazine, but short articles, videos, infographies, and we hope this content will be useful for you. And as usual, World Chef is as well providing all this content in their website for all of you. And we hope you really enjoy the content. You have learned something new today, and making better choices and moving to a circular economy can benefit, of course, all of us, because it will future-proof our business in the food service industry, and it will help our planet and the future generations to come to have a more sustainable planet with a more mindful use of resources. So our industry can be part of the solution, and we have the key people, the key knowledge to make it happen. So thanks a lot for your participation, for your active listening, and for your questions that I think we can move to the Q&A right away. Lynn? So thank you very much for your questions. I'm opening now how the questions that you put in the chat. So we have one question from Suraj Kanmin. How do you justify the packaging of Nespresso capsules for the coffee machine? These are single-use packaging and gets bin after each use. So I think we have Julie in our call. Do you want to take this question, Julie, live?
Yes, hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. So definitely this Nespresso capsule is part of the single-use packaging, and also even like a small size of the packaging. So what we are working now, as you remember on the 5 pillar, the first thing that we are working really hard is about the improve the recyclability. So if you look in almost everywhere, we try to promote that we collect this Nespresso capsule, which is coming from metal and also a small part of the plastic. And we have a collection bins on around the world. And also there are some countries that, for example, like in Germany, you can also even put into the yellow bin. So we are trying to promote for the consumer and also customer to collect these for the recycling. But also in parallel, we also working a lot also to, as Anna mentioned, that the compostability is valuable if we have the product or residual product inside. So they also like the development, also the product launch on this compostable packaging. I hope I answered your question.
Thank you very much, Julie. I think it was a very complete answer, and of course we are doing our best, following all our strategies to improve in this. We have another question in regards to our sources for the consumer research. So a very good question. All the points and all the consumer research we have in our magazine, they come from external credible resources. And you will find in the last pages of the magazine, in fact, we have 16 different resources where you can find, Ellen MacArthur, and you can find ISO, the UN Environmental Program, and so on. For the consumer research, in fact, I think is this one, Anna.
Yeah, we have different, because we mentioned different surveys, but some of them come from McKinsey. Another one is from the Footprint Sustainability Index. Another one is from Rising Tide. So don't hesitate to go to links to the link in the chat, so you can go directly and see all the sources that we have used. Everything is properly included in them, so you can find the exact source
exactly
on the correspondent surveys.
Yes, if you go today to the link or to the website, wherever, you find last page sources and everything, and all the consumer research is there, and it's always from independent. So we have another question. Are there biodegradable alternatives for current packaging already? I think we have discussed this a lot. Maybe Julie, you can comment on this important question as well.
Yes, for sure. So biodegradable are not always the alternative for all the packaging, because also not all the biodegradable can be degradable. It depends on the condition that you have. So basically, not all type of the bioplastic that can be biodegradable. So there are different way how to test, and also it also depend on if this biodegradable, the material are developed for industrial compostable or not. And of course, we need to have the proper collection for that to get the packaging into the right condition for degradable.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much, Julian. And we are, of course, looking attentively to the future, to all these developments from the scientific point of view. And but it's still sometimes, it's not practically available to take to leverage all these innovations, because the infrastructure is not there and you cannot make use of that. So following very closely all these developments. And thank you very much, Surat, for your comment. Very happy to talk to our colleagues in Nestlé in Portugal. They are super active in this sustainable packaging roadmap, and they will be very, very happy to have a conversation with you. We have another question from Suhair Al-Kilani. Could Nestlé professionals support local activities related to sustainability by helping us educating and doing effective awareness campaigns? Absolutely. Yeah, I think one of the of the first steps in this journey is for us to provide this global education content that is, of course, it's a lot of work for many people here because, as you can imagine, it's super complex topic. The sustainable packaging is constantly evolving. Legislation is constantly evolving, and all the innovations and all the expertise, and we have access to really. We are super fortunate to have access to a deep R&D infrastructure dedicated to develop sustainable packaging. So we are every way on top of this, and we are trying to put all this knowledge at the service of Nestlé professional customers. So we do all this NutriPro and Planet Pro content for our out-of-home people to be able to understand in a very easy way topics that are not so easy. And we know that you need as well this in your countries with your own consumers. And we are happy to have, because we have sustainability managers, and we have our teams, our delegates in all the markets that you can as well connect, of course, and you can organize different events and seminars and masterclass and trainings. And in some of our markets, our people has been already reached to organize, and they are very active in providing this education with this content and with additional content in a kind of partnership. So it's a very good idea, very relevant question, and super open to do this collaboration. The most important, as we said, Anna and myself, we need to start rethink behaviors. Is maybe the first milestone is the number 5 in the strategy, but it doesn't mean that is in importance the number 5. If we don't have the right awareness about the topic, it's very difficult to have the willingness to take action. Should we stop the use of plastic at all? This is a super difficult question because, as we said, in terms of how to choose the best sustainable material, we should consider the end-to-end, not only the material itself. And of course, there are a lot of disadvantages when we use plastic in terms of sustainability, but there are as well all the other streams in plastic in terms of formats in materials where their recyclability is super well developed, and you have other advantages as well. So we need to be careful when we say that, and we need to assess the whole value chain before making the last choice. I don't know, Julie, if you would like to complement the question about plastic, because you are the packaging expert.
Yes, also agree with you, Anna, on your answer. You know, like plastic. Okay, the perception is not good, right? But at the end, if we try to make use of the plastic, like put back into the circular economy, plastic is not the bad guy at all. So at the end, we need to see case by case, and also depend on application, because also if we need to also not to to make sure about the functionality and also another different aspect. So the main purpose here, try to make use of the plastic, because it's not a renewable material. That is the main way. But I don't think that we cannot stop using plastic, because there are another benefit or another functionalities.
Thank you very much, Julie. And it's a very good advice. We need to think holistically, you know, and now that we are talking about plastic waste, but we are talking as well about climate actions. And you know, when you look only at one angle, if you look at how much carbon intensity is required to produce plastic versus other materials like glass or metal, in this sense, you only look at that plastic is very favorable versus others. That's why, as Julie said, you cannot look only at one aspect. You can link end to end and make sure whatever material you are going to use, you are going to be able to make the best out of it, you know, and don't end in waste. So this is a very important advice. We have another question. Is there a study on the financial impact of sustainable packaging? Does it make financial sense for the business and customer? This is as well a quite complex, question and super interesting, because in many cases, when you are innovating in more sustainable packaging, you are incurring, of course, in additional cost short term. When you look at the medium term and long term, it makes sense. So you need to have a lot of variables into account, not only the cost of the material itself, but how much value is going to be recovered after. So you cannot make this financial analysis alone as a company or as a customer, you need to be together, many different people together, how much you are going to value the waste of this packaging after, who is going to use it, who is going to make a business out of it, and then as well the legislation, how much you are going to pay with these taxes if this is banned, or with this EPR. So there is so many variables that the straightforward answer is super difficult. But for us, what it makes sense is that medium term and long term, we have to do it. We have to go in this way. More and more in the world, we will have lack of availability of resources. This we know. We have supply chain disruptions, unfortunately, for many different reasons beyond sustainability. And then the simpler we go in our journey and the more sustainable and simple we make our supply chain, the better. The more circular we make it as well, the better. Even if doing this decision short term, you are going to incur in more cost. And don't remember that you work for your customers as we the same, and they are demanding more and more. The younger generations, they are more and more want to live in a planet that is using resources wisely. So they are going to penalize more and more if we don't offer this solution. So in the end, it will make sense. This is what we really strongly believe, and this is what we are strongly committed to make it happen, despite the fact that in some cases we have to make compromises short term in terms of financial decisions. I don't know, Julie, you have any other complement? Please?
Yes, so one thing I would like to add on here today, I think the main financial impact is about that the packaging, the sustainable packaging are not the common material yet, so that's why the price or the manufacturing cost or even the material costs are still very high. This is also one thing that because the usages are not that big yet. So we believe that in the future, if everyone are using this material and then it's become more common, then the price or the financial impact would be improved significantly. So we need to move with the whole industry to have more demand on this sustainable packaging.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Julie. Fully agree. Then we have a question from Juliana. Is the reuse in the reuse of containers, what about the contamination of the product? Super relevant question. Of course, not only in the reuse, but in the refill. All the test and learn exercises and pilots that we are closely, following across the globe. The first prerequisite that we need to follow is the food safety, and this needs to be completely guaranteed. And as it's a different business model, a different supply model, we need to have very, very clear tested that the container after use is going to be correctly clean and correctly sanitized by people in the same facility or by a third party, depending on the business model. But this needs to be completely guaranteed before enabling the business model to put in force. I don't know, Julie, you want as well to have additional remark here?
Yes. So actually, as you are right, Anna, we as Nestle, we are always on top of to ensure that the quality and also the food safety validation has been done for all these application of the reuse and refill to make sure that we don't have the contamination to the product. So most of the all of the tests and learn that we have done so far on the reuse and refill, we are compliant on this case. But of course, it need to be also accessed case by case, because also it's quite new for us. And also it's depend on the application to application. And also what we are foreseeing in the future is very soon within EU, everyone, there will be a kind of a guideline how to develop and also validate the reuse and refill, because we foreseen that this solution would be one of the best solution to reduce the single-use plastic. So
Thank
there will be more and more regulation and also a guideline about this coming out as well.
Thank you.
Yes, welcome.
Thank you. I think we don't have any other questions in the chat. Can you confirm, Lynn? Thank you.
Yes, I think we have managed to clear up all the open questions. We still have some time left, so if there's any participant who would like to ask another questions, please take your chance. So if there's no other questions, I would like to give it back to our speaker to just give us the closing remark. And thank you so much for such an interesting session.
Thank you so much, everyone, for your very interactive participation and for all these questions. This shows that you are really concerned as well about this important topic in your day-to-day business. And for us, it's a way to collaborate, of course, with all the industry. And Julie mentioned before as well, and what Anna and myself share, the more knowledge we put in the world about this and in our food service industry, the better. So we can all take steps together in a collaborative way to minimize the need of packaging, to reduce the packaging waste, and to have a better planet as well for our future generation. So I think it was a super good session where we have a lot of participants, and we as well thanks a lot to World Chef for having the opportunity to have these sessions with you all. And we are looking forward to have next sessions when in 2023. If you are going to make a break now in the December, have a very healthy, peaceful, and safe break. Enjoy with your loved ones, and thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.